Good morning. Welcome back to the Indigenous podcast for the New Frontier School Board. Often you can see that I'm sitting in the same place. That's because I try to just wham bam, get multiples out in a day. But I am only releasing one per week for you guys, okay? But the repertoire is being built. There is a whole lot that I feel like is important to talk about. And as well, I actually have started to get some small suggestions from people. And it's not so much that anyone is emailing me saying, hey, I really need to know this. But in conversations, people are saying, hey, could you explain this? Could you explain that? And I'm like, thanks for giving me a video idea. So someone was asking me about our language. And I know I did one initial video about, the introduction to the alphabet and pronunciations. And that is one challenge that is, as a lifelong learner, I'm still working on trying to pronounce names properly and to pronounce words and to understand the mechanics of the language. But that's just one facet of it, because one of the things about the Ganyageha language is that it is descriptive, it is subjective. I used to work in the one of the immersion schools in our community, and one of the other teachers asked two of our elders in the school how to say a word in Ganyageha. And I remember, I'll never forget this. They had a little bit of an argument, the two elderly ladies, because not an argument, but a disagreement, because they both took the word in English, understanding the context that we see it, put it into their Ganyageha brain, and came out with a different word for how they would translate and describe. So they weren't wrong. They were both right through the context at which they were thinking these words. But they had a disagreement because they both came out with different words. It's very interesting. As we move forward in the revitalization of the language, we are, there's a lot of standardization that's going on in teaching because you want to preserve a language. And one of the examples that I use is, when kids are going to school now, they're learning about specific words for specific things. So where I'm sitting right now is a chair, right? And the word that we would use for a chair is anitsquarda. Now, anitsquarda, okay, if you are, if you're coming from an English thinking background, right? We know that this is a chair, and that's the word I'm going to use for it. If I go sit on a couch, I know that that's a couch or a sofa versus sitting in a computer chair. We have different words that we use, a stool, things like that. In Ganyageha, though, the true translation for anitsquarda, and it's funny because I have heard it one way, and then my father literally just 2 days ago altered it in his understanding. So even him and I, not that we're in a disagreement, but we have different ways that we describe it. So anitsquarda, as I've always known it, is a place where you rest your back. So anywhere that you're going to rest your back, you're going to sit and take a break and rest your back, that's anitsquarda. So this chair right now that I'm sitting in, anitsquarda. When I sit on the couch, anitsquarda. My father, he had the same conversation with my mother the other day. I walked into it when I came home. And he says it's a place where you rest your hips. Now, him and I are never going to argue about that because regardless, right, we both know what we're saying. We know that it doesn't directly mean the object itself, but yet it describes the object itself. And so for me to say I'm resting my back in this place, my father could be resting his hips in that place, and we're using the same place. So, and that's just one word. And it's, there are other words that I've encountered because I am also a language learner, right? I went to school in Chattagee. I'm fluent in French, which I don't advertise often because I get super nervous, but I'm pretty sure the education worked out well. I understand everything that goes on in French. But I don't speak Ganyageha, and it's been, in my teen years and as an adult, I've become a learner of this language. And so I think it's beautiful that we are, live in this world where we're describing things around us to people. I think it really gives true insight into the minds of the people and the way that they use the language. But I'll admit that coming from an English-speaking background, at first I was resistant because I was like, how am I supposed to ever remember that, these words? So it's challenging. But when I started to shift my mindset to that understanding that, wow, this is really beautiful. The fact that these two women in that staff room, when I was teaching, they couldn't agree on a word. It was actually a very beautiful moment because they were both coming from their true understanding of the language and how they would describe things. And that was a disagreement. Neither of them were wrong. So the Mohawk language, the Kanien'kehá:ka language, it is beautiful. I'll see you guys again soon.